Hello and welcome everyone. This is your Inzam sir. I believe all of you are doing great. Today we will be learning a new chapter which is also in your assignment number 2 for BGST, and the chapter's name is Sustainable Development Goals, in short SDG. This is one of the main significant topics at present, and we must know about sustainable development goals. To begin with, the very first question comes to our mind, that is, what is sustainable development? Now, sustainable development is the idea that human societies must live and meet their needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I repeat, sustainable development is the idea that human societies must live and meet their needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. If I make you a bit clear, that is, suppose we all need rice, we all need furniture, but if it happens like this, that we need more furniture, that's why we have to cut down trees. So if all the trees are cut down, then what will happen to future generation? I mean, I cannot do any kind of harmful thing to the nature or to the upcoming generation for my own needs. Okay, have to meet our needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Specifically, sustainable development is a process where futurity is pivotal. It is a way of organizing society so that it can exist in the long term. It values present demands without neglecting future needs, as I said earlier, right? Hence, sustainable development is a process where futurity is pivotal. It is a way of organizing society so that it can exist in the long term. It values present demands without neglecting future needs. For example, this is a picture, and I will say this is a beautiful picture. We can see a building. We see lots of buildings in city areas, but what's so different in it? There are lots of plants, lots of trees in or on this building, and it looks very beautiful, it looks amazing. And this is a good way of showing sustainable development. That means, yes, for our purpose, for our daily purpose or commercial purpose, we have to make building, we have to create factory, we have to build lots of things, but that doesn't mean I have to compromise other things, other upcoming generation. All right, so what we can do is we can make these buildings like this, with full of trees, full of plants. It can minimize the carbon dioxide from the air, and it will also give you oxygen. It will give us oxygen and it will help us. Now, increasing production without using pesticides is an example of sustainable development. Sustainable development emphasizes environment-friendly farming that help keep natural resources of present and future time intact. I guess you have understood the first line, that is increasing production without using pesticides. It is pretty common nowadays for the farmers or for our agriculture to use pesticides for more production, to increase production, but we know pesticides are also harmful. It can affect our future days, right? So what we can do for sustainable development, that is, we can increase our production without using pesticides. And how to do it, we can know this kind of answer in our agricultural studies, right? Now the second point is safeguarding of human being and animal resources. So this is also an example of sustainable development, that is safeguarding of human being and animal resources. That means I'm not just looking for to safeguard the upcoming generation, that how they will live, how they will lead their life, but I'm also careful about the animals, birds, other resources. That means I care about tiger, I care about cat, dogs, every other animals, because they are also necessary for our ecological balance, right? Now another question comes, how did the idea of sustainable development get relevant? The Industrial Revolution is connected to the rise of the idea of sustainable development. From the second half of the 19th century, Western societies started to discover that their economic and industrial activities had a significant impact on the environment and the social balance. Several ecological and social crises took place in the world and rose awareness that a more sustainable model was needed. Well, so this sustainable development got its idea back in Industrial Revolution. That means when Industrial Revolution made the whole world change, some scientists or sociologists, they realized the harmful effect of Industrial Revolution, that there were so much pollutions here and there, and that can affect the human being, human existence in the long run. So they needed to be careful, more careful, and they had to create the awareness in the common human beings. That means to the common people. All right. Our earth is constantly changing ecologically, economically, and socially, because with the rise of the world population, human demands and luxuries are also increasing. In order to meet these demands, human beings are trying to raise their status as well as income. They are therefore taking part in different development activities. Here we can see a picture. There are people, there are tall buildings, there are cars, transports. So this is a common scenario in city life, and we call it development. If we can make a tallest building, we call it development. But is this development sustainable? Will it be affecting the future days, future generation? That's the question. Now, there are buildings, new houses, roads, industries, infrastructures, etc. So people are building new houses, roads, industries, infrastructures, etc. Farmers are multiplying their production by using fertilizer and pesticides. It has adverse impacts on environment and biodiversity. Such kind of development is not sustainable or desirable. That means if this development, if these tall buildings are not sustainable, then they are not desirable. You may feel that no, this is good for me, this is good for my generation, or this is good for present days. Then you are wrong, because we have to think about our future too. And COVID-19 or coronavirus has made us think for our future, think for the environment, think for ourselves. Okay, so you have to think about all the things, not only human beings but also the animals, other resources, everything. Now, SDG from MDG. So we know SDG means Sustainable Development Goal or goals, but SDG comes from MDG, that means Millennium Development Goals. Now let's know MDG. The United Nations has significant roles towards the development of the present world and addressing its challenges. UN declared Millennium Development Goals MDG in September 2000. In that summit, 8 goals were fixed and pledges were made to achieve them by 2015. Now I repeat, UN declared Millennium Development Goals in September 2000, and in that summit 8 goals were fixed and pledges were made to achieve them by 2015. That means they took 15 years to make it possible, or to make that pledges successful. Alright? Meanwhile, the deadline for achieving MDG is over. As a continuation of it, UN has declared the Sustainable Development Goals SDG in 2015 that has opened a chapter of cooperation in the world. 17 goals were fixed in SDG. Actions for achieving the goals of sustainable development started in January 2016 with a view to changing the world. This journey will end on 31st December 2030. So we still have almost 10 years left to make it successful. Alright? So in MDG we had 8 goals, and now in SDG, as a continuation of MDG, we have 17 goals to fulfill, right? And remember, it started in January 2016, but that summit were declared in 2015 by UN. Now you can see a picture where we can see the 8 goals of Millennium Development, that means MDG. Number 1 was eradicating extreme poverty and hunger. Do you believe or not, it is the first thing for human being, that is to remove your hunger. We all, or your parents, do a lot of work. Why? Only to eat a good meal or 3 times meal, and there are many people who are working so hard to get only 1 meal for a day. And so we can say we are so privileged that we can have 3 meals and other snacks too. Now, so as there are so many hungry people, there are so many poor people, so the goal, the very first goal of MDG was to eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. Mind you, that word is very important, that is extreme poverty. And we can see this kind of poverty in African countries. We have poor people in our country, but Bangladesh is gradually doing very good. Bangladesh is doing great, and we are now a developing country, and we believe Bangladesh will do a lot better in the coming days. Now, the second goal was to achieve universal primary education. This one is also important, that's why it is in the second goal, to achieve universal primary education. Number 3 was to promote gender equality and empower women. Number 4 was to reduce child mortality. So if you have read the chapter number 4, you may have the idea about mortality rate, then birth rate, and also you will understand child mortality. So that was a prior concern for MDG, to reduce child mortality. Number 5 was to improve maternal health. That is also important, very important, I would say. Number 6 was to combat HIV, AIDS, malaria and other diseases. Like what is Corona doing in 2020? We are going through a lot of hardship. We are going through tough days. Why? Because of Corona. So this kind of virus, this kind of disease, if comes, we have to take proper precaution. We have to prevent these diseases, right? Now number 7, to ensure environmental sustainability. Last one, number 8, is a global partnership for development. Now these are the goals of Millennium Development Goals. That means those 8 goals were eradication of extreme poverty, universal primary education, women empowerment, reducing child mortality, improving maternal health, prevention of HIV or AIDS, malaria and other diseases, ensuring sustainable development, building up global partnership for development. So I would end the class here. Next class we will learn more about sustainable development goals, the 17 goals which were fixed and which have to be achieved by us or all the countries 2030, right? So if you have any questions, do comment and let me know. Everyone for your attention.